just like dogs. Oh, Matt, that's my song, Dogs, HFR from the floor. Bobby Heff, Mistrade, Matt Davio. The natural don't. We're just like dogs, Matt. There's a lot going on today, right? It's election day. And I think people are going to vote like they're sick of being treated like a dog. It's just my opinion.
Or maybe they like it.
It's just my opinion. I mean, I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but I think this Colin Cowherd, and we're going to talk agricultural stuff here in a second here. He's like, red wave is coming Tuesday. Don't mess with people's kids. It lands differently and they will hold a grudge. You can't blame them. That's my TED talk. Thank you, Colin. But the amount of misinformation and disinformation that they peddled and knew that they peddled it. They knew it was fucking lies. They knew it. Yet they didn't care, Matt, seemingly. They didn't care. And we shall see how this all shakes out today.
Yeah, I think the market is front running a red wave for sure. I mean, we have been, dip buying the last, 3 days. And let me just kind of bring in, the last week of the SPOOs and the NASDAQ so you can kind of see this. And again, we've been, pounding along here on the SPOOs at 3,700, couldn't break through it. And, now we're pushing all the way up to 3,900 again. Same thing on the NASDAQ. We broke down from that 11.4 last week, Wednesday. So this is the 5th day now since then. But now we're coming right back to, this is where we broke down from. So again, the argument now, I think we're right now with, in midday, 9 o'clock on election day. I think we're kind of done for the day. And then later in the day, I think we're done kind of, going up. I don't know, maybe we can get up to this, I think we're done on the SPOOs. Maybe the NASDAQ's got a little bit more, but I would guess not. And the bonds are up big today again, and the dollar's down, and we'll talk about that I think in a little bit here. But I think those things are all lining up for a bullish setup. Now, if we don't get a red wave, what levels would I be looking for to test? And I think for me, 37.66, 61, 60, 37.60, right? That would be an area which is 100 points below where we are right now. We're trading right into balance here at 11, for the week, right here at 38.65. This 38.65 to 3,900, we could trade up there if things look red, I guess, and I think that could continue up there. But I don't see much beyond this, just from where we are today. But we'll see. We'll see what happens again.
Right, and we talked about this on the way in. I don't give a shit which way it goes.
Right.
All right. I'm still standing in my camp of the headwinds they're staggering. The headwinds are staggering. And I don't give a shit who wins. It doesn't matter. This market is going to have a hard time going forward. That's my take. That's my take. And
I don't disagree with you, but I think just because of the seasonality and where we are at the end of the year, I think we could have a reprieve again for a couple months.
Right on. Obviously,
if we were to get a red wave, right, I could see that being the impetus. Forget about earnings, because we're not going to have any earnings until January.
Right.
So we've been so oversold. Why can't we have a rally up to 4,000? And I already said 39.50. We already got there pretty much, 39.38. So why wouldn't we do it one more time, right? That's kind of what I think. Why wouldn't we go to 440, 50, 4,100 before the next earnings, before the next shoe drops, before, as you said, the shit hits the fan, before that stuff starts to happen, right?
Hey, man, let me share, because we're going to talk. I said we're going to spin some agricultural names your way. And this, I haven't seen a video that depicts a market better than this. I'm not sure ever, Matt. This was shared by PD Madigan, Health and Freedom Maximalist, at Mangin 150, and it says, given a choice between Beyond Meat and real meat, chickens go for the real stuff every time. There's a plate there of your Beyond Meat burgers. It looks like it's going to get shit on before it gets eaten.
Right. I mean, they're not Not even remotely interested in it.
Not even remotely. I said I'll have the chicken. We're going to talk chicken.
You'll have
too.
the beef fed. You'll have the beef fed chicken.
Exactly. Give me not the corn fed. Let me tell you something. I'm not sure how much time you've ever spent on a farm, but chickens are just, they are prehistoric raptors. I mean, you know, as we were as kids, as especially young boys, you would do, like, you throw some fresh live frogs to the chicken and watch the Jurassic Park unfold
Really?
in front of your, oh my God, it is insane.
Like live frogs.
A live frog, man. Yeah. All those chickens are on it and ripping it to shreds. It is a horror movie in and of itself. Man, let's go to Beyond Meat. Let's go to the stock. Let's talk Beyond Meat, because apparently if they're not, they can't sell the chickens, and they're having a hard time selling to humans also. We're on a health food kick today with Beyond Meat.
I mean, good lead in, Bob. I like it. Beyond Meat, you know.
I was a kid, Mark. I was a kid. I'm pleading the kid.
11, you know, the 11s were the recent lows here. 11.75. We're off that. 13.57, actually up 2% today. So apparently the chicken video maybe went to the marketing department at Beyond, and
they got earnings tomorrow, and they're expecting another giant loss. So maybe they beat on, maybe they're not nearly as shitty as they thought they were going to be.
They're expecting revenues of 93.5 million, loss of 1.15 cents a share is what they're expecting. Again, not making any money already. Worth below $1 million today. So a billion.
Wait a second, a billion. Yeah, still a giant number.
Still a giant number, you know. Again, considering if their revenues are 93 million and they do that 4x, I mean, you're talking 360 million. So operationally trading 2x sales, maybe getting a little cheap, but who the frick, like you said, the chickens don't even want to eat the shit. So, you know, I think that's not going to help their marketing campaign, I guess is what I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying too.
Yeah. But this is very bearish. But again, it could get spikes all over the place. But I'm not the type of trader that's waiting for a squeeze play. And I just
no, absolutely. And I think it's important to point this out that, you know, we talked about.
I'm not saying if you haven't been short from $230.
Right. Exactly.
You know, what are you trying to? It's not a great short at 13 necessarily, because there's only 13 left available to you.
Exactly.
So,
exactly.
To me, it's a dead stock, is what it is. It's a dead stock.
Right on. Along with the health food, Oatly, Matt. Oatly, when do they? Their earnings are coming up also here.
Their earnings are coming up. Looks like next week from yesterday, so on the 14th. Again. But look, these guys at least have real sales, because, you know, moms think they're being all trendy, and they see the Oatly in the cabinet and their kid says they got a tummy ache from regular milk. So I'm going to buy you some Oatly, little Bobby. I'm going to buy you some Oatly and massage your little belly.
This one, actually, you're right. I don't give a shit whether you think the fact that it is not so metabolically healthy for you, and I don't think it is. Major blood sugar spike when you consume this stuff. But that doesn't mean that it's not going to sell. I mean, they sell a lot of Captain Crunch, and that shit's poison. But
sure. But you know, I'd like to try it with some Oatly. If Oatly Captain Crunch.
The Oatly Captain Crunch mixture to really send you into diabetic fucking shock.
But are you talking for me? For my money, I'm the peanut butter Captain Crunch guy. I don't like the old school, the one that they both destroy the roof of your mouth.
Exactly.
But you also can't stop eating it. So if you have a 14 ounce or a 24 ounce box, you will consume the whole thing in one sitting.
Matt, when I look at this chart, I mean, if it can recapture this big fat value range,
which would be a double. I mean, you know, it's trading at $2 again. You know, let's just look at the sales to, you know, if they're doing 212 million, so that's 800 million a year, you know, and they're worth of the market cap is 1.7 or 1.1. I mean, you're almost talking 1 to 1, 1.2 or so to sales. I mean, that's getting cheap
I agree. I agree.
So again, it's $2. It can only go to zero. So your risk is $2.
You know, I love having this conversation where as traders and investors, you know, this whole ESG thing, you know, the biggest thing that you have in front of you is supporting your family, right? So even if I don't agree with the health benefit of
Hang on one
Oatly,
second.
if I don't believe in the health benefit of Oatly, it looks like it's a good buy here, especially if it can recapture. If it can recapture, that's what I'm saying. Recapture. We've lost Matt. Yes, I'm going to stop sharing his screen. We're going to leave Oatly. We're going to come back here because I also wanted to share, Matt. Speaking of chicken, hold on a second. Speaking of chicken, Matt, and fake meat, Tyson Foods CFO John Tyson arrested for entering stranger's house, passing out in her bed. Just a few too many cocktails, as far as I can see there. And you know what? Since Matt is gone, let me share Beyond and Tyson and Oatly. So here's Beyond 3-day look. 3-day look again. How much lower can it go? It can go to zero. It's trading 1353 right now. So I don't have a problem thinking that they might be putting in a bottom here. Oatly, same thing. Oatly has come, brought it on the books and rallied it to 29.12. And again, it's just an incredible see you later on this. But why would you sell it short at $2? Why would you sell it short and try to squeeze the last $2 out of this?
No, and what I would say is what I would say to that point is there's no doubt this thing will get a squeeze at some point, whatever the news is, right? And before it may go to zero fundamentally. Again, I'm just looking at the market cap and sales. That's it. I'm not looking at anything else. I don't know what their debt ratio is. I don't know anything about the company. So it may be a DOA and going to zero for sure. But to me, it's relatively new. It'll have another bounce. It'll double, triple from here.
Right on. Right on.
So to that point, yeah, your risk is $2. Or you can make it $1. You could say if it gets below $1, I'm getting out. But
I'm going to keep my last dollar.
Right.
Matt, on the way in here, I shared this and I want to get your take on the Tyson's Foods CFO. Not only the CFO, but a Tyson himself, John Tyson.
Speaking of chicken Marcella and mushrooms, what was going on?
He entered a stranger's house and passed out in her bed. I've tied a few ones on. I can honestly say I've never ended up in the wrong house, in the wrong bed.
Yeah.
Never. All right, let me go to Tyson stock from a 3-day look, standard deviation modeling. And then I'm going to let you take it over from a profile perspective. But this is rounding for me. This is rounding. And again, a lot of room to the upside on previous places that it's been. People got to eat. There's a lot of expensive beef. As we shared that chart the other day, the cattle market looking like it wants to recapture its highs from, I forget, it was 2014, 15, something there, 172-ish on the live cattle contract. Chicken always benefits, and chicken manufacturers always benefits when other protein sources become expensive comparatively. Right. And that's the thing you got to think about. Is like, and we all do this. You're sitting at the meat counter, and you're looking at it, and you're like, you know what? I really wanted to go with steak today, but it's going to be, it's going to be exorbitant. I'll go with the chicken, just like the chickens. The chickens go with the. Anyway, I just wanted to show that let's see.
Well, do you have more you want to say on the?
No. Also, earnings are coming out next week, and they do pay a dividend, like 2.5% on the dividend.
Yeah.
Take it over from a.
2.75 actually. It's a pretty fat dividend. Not bad. Better than zero. Again, here's what's interesting is this perfectly came back to this $53 level here, Bob. I just got to point this out because this is a little over a 1 year. This is maybe a 1.5 year chart, But if I go back a little further, and I want to go back to the COVID low, because that has been a great reference for all of these markets, right? We might have a little bit more room. We might have a little bit more room, but it's also, you can see if, again, right, let's go right to the COVID low. So just so we can see this. You might have a little bit more down to this, like, mid 50s to 60 level, then, if we can't continue to bounce here. But yeah, this chart looks starting to look bullish, right? This is starting to look, and I think we probably talked about it in the spring when it was 100, and we were like, it's probably a sell. It's probably got to go back somewhere into this lower 50s, at least. It is a real company, and it was falling hard when, when I see this chart and knowing what I know about the world and the WEF now, this almost tells me these effers actually knew. Like, they knew this back in, again, and we were talking about it in January of 20. We were talking in November of 19. You and I were. But this chart is so telling, because it was trading at 91 then, and it went all, by the time COVID started, it was already down here at 60. And then it dumped down to 42. So it had sold off 33% before anybody knew anything. So these guys knew the whole agenda was to push Beyond Meat and insects, blah, blah, blah. And they thought the end of the world was going to happen right here. And it backfired on them, and it went right back. But this is interesting, right? It went right back to where it was. So, and now, where are you? So, like, this is a really balanced area down here, I would say, Bob, down here right around 55 to 60. So that's a good entry. If it can't hold 55, then it's going to test that COVID low. But if it can, it looks positive to me.
Right. And it's super interesting, I think, going forward here, as we keep looking at these stocks that do pay dividends, to see how they adjust their dividends as other interest rate revenue streams are available. Like, that has to be part of the metric.
And if you're not making money, and, I was spending some time just going through names yesterday that, just were crazy parabolic. Like, if you remember that Upstart Holdings, and let's just look at some of these right now real quick, because, like, just to talk about this, like, because these types of names, they don't make money, and this company is still worth more than Beyond Meat. This is 1.56, and they don't do shit either. I mean, they're a finance company, online finance company, went to 400, massive squeeze. And now look at this thing all the way, like, we were calling for the COVID low when it was up here, but it's overshot it. I mean, it's trading $19, Bob. But this thing could go to zero. I mean, this thing could go to zero with where the world is with interest rates. Why would, like, what's different? Like, what do you bring to the world that Wells Fargo or your local community credit union doesn't bring to the market? Like, what's original here? There's nothing original. And then you look at software companies like this, Fastly. Remember that one?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was looking at these yesterday. I was like, God, if I, like, Tim Melvin at Melvin Capital, God, dude, how could you not make money just in this market? Everything over the last year and a half has just paid huge, the right sides. Why are you battling with GameStop and the meme stocks when there was 190,000 other names just like this? And again, look at this thing, 868, Bob. It was trading 136, and I know it's split. At one point, it was probably like $500 a share. So this thing has gone down, gone from 136 down to 5, and now it's trading at 868. I mean, wow! Like, it's just the amount of death and that is out there. So I bring these names up because they're not profitable. They're not anywhere close to profitable, and yet they're still worth $1 billion at this price.
It's up and down the
and the sales, and again, this is a software company, so they were reported they beat 108, so they're doing 420 million a year. So again, 2.5 sales, pretty cheap for a software company, for sure, pretty cheap. They're not, it's just code. It's a bunch of,
zeros and ones, Matt. Zeros, ones and zeros. I say zeros and ones.
That's it.
All right, Matt. We got breaking news of government elites, and let me share that because I thought this was interesting. The EU has serious concerns about Inflation Reduction Act, saying it breaches international trade rules, according to an official document seen by CNBC. All right, I'm not sure I believe anything that comes out of an official document that they don't want to share. If they have it, why not share it? It goes right along of the rumor that we heard with zero verification, but let's put it out there. Anyway, that aside, the fact is that Uncle Joe here seems to continue with this narrative that it's going to actually reduce inflation, yet it's somehow fucking with our trade relationship with the EU. I mean, that's what I'm reading into this. It's breaching international trade rules and what's already in place.
And what they're doing is, they're complaining that we're exporting inflation, and some of that's true. And we pump so much money into Eastern European.
Yeah, but everybody pump, the world pump money. So
I know, but since then we've pumped more into the war BS, right?
Oh, that's for sure.
That's like another level.
All things being equal, the dollar taking it a bit on the chin. Let's look at the dollar. Because it's I just love the story on the dollar. And
yeah, you can't have a bullish market without the dollar going down. It's we've said this for a long time. When the dollar, if you want to take a counter trend trade right now to the upside, that's counter trend to the longer term mode that we're in, right? You agree with that? Yeah, we've just gotten slaughtered here today. I mean, once we broke through 110, and I am trying to bring that up, but as long as the dollar is going down, the market can go up. I mean, again, we talked about this when it double topped here at 113, that it looked like it probably might run out, and sure enough, it did. And that 113 didn't even get to the old high, which was 115 or so. So, but this 109 level is another, and we're now, right at it.
I got that big 109, 108.97 is the.
And for the day, 110 was big, yeah. And for the day, just today, 110 was big. And once that broke, and you can see that, like once 110 broke right here, whoosh. So. Whoosh.
What I think is interesting about it that you have to understand, and maybe this goes back to your thought process that we can rally through the end of the year, especially if the dollar takes it on the chin through the end of the year. And let me just share, because I want to, you have to understand the potential in the market both ways. All right, both ways. And where's this thing come from? And this is a monthly, again, a long-term look. Right, but we have been riding this standard deviation line the whole way perfectly. It comes in at 108.96, call it 108.96. If we take that out, though, there's no reason why we can't go to the next level on the standard deviation modeling, which is the average, which also happens to come in perfectly with the previous tops, 103, the 103 area. And so you got to. We talk about the potential in the market, and I think standard deviation modeling does a great job in doing that. It is exploring how hot or cold something has been, and therefore, what are the potentials? Where can it go back to? And I know the profile does a great job of that also. I will say this, on the 3-day look, I think this thing gets really overdone if it continues today. 108.50 is going to get us into this collar here, and I think that's, I don't know if this is reaction to the election, if it's just air coming out of this thing, because let's face it, it's been on an incredible tear.
Yeah.
But that's going to be on a 3-day look, very overdone, anywhere around 108 to 108.5. I think if you're day trading, you got to start looking at shorter term momentum swings and jump on that.
Yeah, and then let me just bring up a couple different. This is a two and a half. This is a 2-month. Look at the dollar, and again, very bearish on a 2-month chart, right? It came right back when we showed this, like it's coming right back into the meat of the profile after failing, now making a new low. Like we are below this right now, and so this points to, you were talking 108s. This, the old low here was 107.665. So that's one frame of reference, and then if we pull back to a longer time frame, this 109 starts to go, 107, again, that makes a lot of sense because that's the lower end, 108.16 of this profile. This green line is the breakout line, and that's that 105 area, that 104 area. So possibility that we can test all the way down there. And if that were to happen, Bob, I could see the market again running to that 4,000, 4,100 level on the SPOOs.
Right on, right.
We're not that far from it. I mean, we're trading basically at 3,900 today again. We got up to 38.70 on the SPOO. So let's just call it 3,900. So yeah, if we get back into this balance area, 106.40, and again, this balance goes back to, this is a half year. So that's bullish. So you're bearish on a 2-month, you're bullish still on a 6-month, right? And that's the yin and yang of markets. And I think that's where people struggle, is trying to figure out which time frame do I trade. Well, the longer time frame is the more powerful always. So you got the 1 minute, the maniac, the manic trader intraday, all the way back, back to the monthly and the weekly traders, right? They're completely different beasts, but you need to be aware. And these longer term charts take a longer time to change. So you have time and you can place bets. If you don't want, if you're not sitting in front of a screen all day like you and I tend to do, then these are the types of trades you want to put on when they come to your place. And I think that, to your point, I don't think we're out of the woods, and I think next year is going to be very volatile. And I think again, once we get through the end of this year, I think it's just going to be kind of quiet. I don't know. That's just my gut. Like, I think it's going to be falsely quiet, and then it's going to explode. And it may be through the end of this year that I might be wrong in the timing, but I think we might just have a little bit of a reprieve, because they have been buying the dips really since mid-October, and we're 3 weeks into that. We have not gone back down and broke through those lows of mid-October.
Right on. All right, man. Let me share this, because it was one of the things that I cued in on when I said, listen, man, there is trouble on. I smell a blood moon rising. And this was shared by our friend Wall Street Silver, always a great follow, a lot of great information. And he's sharing Don Johnson, fresh out of Miami, largest home builder in Idaho to lay off 50% of workforce as Idaho real estate market collapses. I mean, when you think about a home builder saying, all right, half your guys and gals, like, see ya, half of them. I mean, we talked about the Twitter people, like,
who is the largest home builder? I'm curious. I wonder if it's Hayden Homes, because like Hayden is big in the Northwest now. I'm just curious. Like,
I don't know, but I mean, again, there are headwinds coming. We've shared the amount of tech layoffs that are coming. None of this has showed up in any of the data points other than inflation.
Think about, we were talking, we were talking to a custom home builder back in the spring, remember, February, March?
Yeah, absolutely.
And anyways, I mean, can you imagine the pain that they're in right now because of the interest rates? Here's what's happening. They thought, oh, these interest rates are going to go up and then they're just going to come down, right? That's the way they really thought. Like, they were buying time. Well, here you are now, 8-9 months later, coming to the end of the year. There's nobody knocking at your door saying, hey, I have a custom home I want you to build. I mean, it's just going to be rare. It's going to be the one rich guy who just won that 1.8 billion. Maybe he's coming to you and saying, I need a custom house. But there's not hand over fist new people coming to your door right now looking for a custom home. They're just not. And
Aaliyah's saying CBH Homes, but I don't see that they're publicly traded.
So whatever.
Well, let me tell you, if you're a part of the management team of CBH Homes, you better be selling everybody else on the street short to protect yourself. Honest to God, man, that has to be a thought process. If you are in some of these areas that are going to get hit, like, take out some short bets on your competitors. You don't want to bet against yourself. I mean, you don't want to, you want to be Pete Rose. Never bet against yourself, but for God's sakes, you should be making some bets here.
Well, and even, let's just look at real quick. Let's look at the XHB, which is the retail home builder ETF, right? XHB. And again, we've been very bearish on this for a while, but, even most recently, like, we've rallied off that low again in June, went from 51 to 68, pulled back here to 53. So did make a new low. And now we're actually, today we're up almost 2%. So again, that could be election driven. They're figuring, okay, if the Republicans get in, we'll lower taxes, we'll do things that will make it better for the retail consumer, right? That's what it's 1 + 1 = 17. That's what they're trying to do, but it doesn't necessarily mean that's going to happen. I think even if there is a red wave, I think we're going to be stonewalled and bullshit and fighting, and nobody's going to just because I mean, just because you go from blue to red, nobody's working together now. So why are they going to work together after? Even though
100%,
you know what I mean? So
yeah, no, I agree.
It's hopeful, but ultimately, this thing's it's not going to even begin to get bullish for me until it gets over 70.
What is the point of control there? Because that's a great
point of control is like it's 62. So
right
you could run another 10% to get there. And the top of value is up here, right around 69.
right on. All right, man. All right.
Along with the dollar and interest rates, right, being what they are, and housing, I want to get your take on Bitcoin, because Bitcoin's been crazy today. I don't know if you've been following it.
Listen, man, I let an
we haven't talked about it.
I let an algo trade all of my Bitcoin, and I'm going to get into that next. Well, maybe I'll get into it tomorrow.
Okay.
When I look at the 3-day, it's still, and let me bring it up because it's still just sideways on the 3-day. Again, who knows what an election? Why would an election have anything to do with this? I don't know. But the 3-day, I mean, these bands have just collapsed, and it is just trading sideways. It tried to mount a rally, and then it's given it right back. It held the average. I know you're going to bring it up on a profile basis, but let me just tell you something about crypto winners, which everybody says that we're in. And before they went nuts here, I mean, look at the amount of time that this thing traded sideways here. I mean, and this is kind of what I feel like is that we're in the midst of here. From whatever, June of 19 all the way till we started breaking out here in October of 20, it was dead flat, and it looks very similar to me here. Like, I don't know when this is going to end, but it sure looks like there's very little volatility in this thing, and until it can make higher highs or lower lows on a consistent basis, it's kind of a, I don't know, it's a non-story to me. Even though it has been volatile the last 2 days, it really hasn't been volatile since it kind of bottomed back in June. All right, we're already 6 months into this, Matt. 6 months of sideways action. So that's kind of what I think. That's what I think, and we've lost Matt. Currently, we've lost Matt. Matt, he's talking to his broker. We've silenced him. So we got that going for us on the show. Let me get a guitar and play a song while we wait for Matt to finish his discussion.
All right.
You didn't hear a word I said.
No. Here's what I wanted to say, Bob. I wanted to look at Binance bought FTX. FTX is everybody's. Sponsored.
No. They had somebody.
I don't know what happened.
They were an early investor. I got to tell you, it's another.
No, but here, what happened at 6 o'clock last night? What happened at 6:30 that this thing whooshed from 20,700 down to, it was down $1,500, and then it went further down this morning. Like I told you when we started the show, we were pre-gaming. I was like, "Why is Bitcoin down 1,500?" You're like, and then as soon as I said that, you're like, "What?" And then we looked back, and it was all the way back here to balance. Right. And I'm not trading it. So, but I was like, and now we're back down here to balance. So the short-term trading opportunities here today in Bitcoin are huge. The dichotomy from what you were just talking about. This is why.
But this
is why we need to talk about this. And then when you look at the longer-term chart, again, like midterm, right? A couple month chart here. This is going back a little bit. And this is going back to the 1st of October. It's coming right back to the area where you want to buy it, right?
Yes.
You're trading this time frame. So we were above the breakout. We're back into balance. Two things lining up on one. So whatever it was that gave you that gift down there at 19.2, good for if you're paying attention. And this is what you trade. I don't trade it all that often because the big moves have come. And to your fact, and the longer term moves, we're kind of dead until 18,000 goes. But 18,000, as we've kept talking about, keeps holding. So I'm not trying to recreate the wheel. This thing has been dragging along the bottom here since June, but it's also not going higher. And this is the longer term chart. It ran right up to that 21.4. That's where it stopped because that's where it should have stopped. I don't
No,
know.
that's where the hands that want it out were ready and willing
And that's
and
where
able
the
to
news,
sell
and
it.
that's where the news came, and that's where this trading opportunity came in the last couple of days, right? Boom.
Right on.
So if you're following it, you've had a couple nice trades, a breakdown trade, and then a retest trade, and then a break back to the thing. And now to me, it's just kind of like dead again, but not dead, but I mean, it's trading very wide today. So from a trading perspective, it's interesting story. That's all I wanted to say. And then along with that, why don't we take a look at coin, because we haven't looked at it, and for quite a while. Coinbase hasn't been strong, which is interesting. Like, these are decoupled. They used to mirror each other.
And again, Matt, if there's not a lot of trading activity, these people make their money on the revenue from trading.
Right.
Back and forth, like the trading volume.
Yeah. So you start looking at this, and it's back down here at 55. The low in May was 40. So watch out again. This thing it's creeping back to that to test that low. And if that goes, again, to your point, if there's no trading going on, the longer we go with us doing nothing, like we just showed on the Bitcoin chart, you're saying is not good for these guys. And I would agree with that. Fundamentally. Fundamentals. But this is not a good, again, this is still a 12.5, obviously not making any money, $12.5 billion.
How could they not make any money? Show me their earnings. How could they not make money?
I don't know. They just had them a couple days ago. Let's see what they did. I think they just had them. They just had them the 3rd. So they missed. They reported 2.43. They're estimated 2.37, missed by 2.25%. Reported revenue lower. So again,
I mean, nobody's trading, baby. Nobody's trading it. Nobody's trading. I mean, we got to cover a couple of other things. You shared in the network, and we've talked about it before. Free Spoke. We've talked Free Spoke before, but they got a kind of neat little election coverage here at freespoke.com. I'll say it again. I like, they can't even, how about this? I find this interesting, Matt. They can't even find a middle ground to their algo can't find anything from the middle. It's either left or right on the news about the election. But they have an election map, a battle for the Senate, a nice little graphic that'll start to be working its way towards who's got control of the Senate. I like what they're doing. I like what Free Spoke is doing. They're trying to referee in an incredibly difficult refereeing environment that information flow has become. Mm-hmm. There was a great share by Snowden. I don't know if you saw it from an interview from 93 or 83, where the CIA is talking about how they've infiltrated news organizations and they get their narrative printed. And that's why I said about CNBC just now, they saw something that said this. I don't trust anything that anybody says to begin with. And after I watched the Snowden share, I was like, I trust everything less. Like, I couldn't trust anything less than I do now. Anyway, Matt, and we also wanted to talk NFL. And I don't know if you saw this, but the Dolphins coach, right? He politely asked, I'm not sure how polite it was. He asked Justin Fields to stop running because they couldn't stop him.
Well, even Tua in the press conference, he flat out said how many yards he had it. He goes, he had to have 200 yards. He goes, he's a baller. This is the other quarterback. So you had the coach and then you had the quarterback.
Right. Here it is. He's out of bounds and he just walks up to him and says, hey, stop it. Stop it.
Running
please.
on it.
Stop it. Oh, I love it. Anyway, man, what I wanted to do was go to the standings and just point out that again this year it looks like we might have a team with a losing record make the playoffs.
Yeah, but even more importantly, go to the top right there. Go to the top. Who would have thought that the Jets were battling?
I mean, look at these Jets. Lee's got to be feeling like he's at a dead concert.
He doesn't know what to do. He doesn't know what to do.
Yeah, I mean the Jets and the Dolphins. I love Patriots.
But
nobody's over 500 though.
Nobody's out of it. But yeah, he's in
Absolutely.
last place, but he's only 2 games back, Belichick. So you should, if I were Josh Allen, I'd be a little worried, especially after his performance last Sunday. He was god awful, and you still got to play Belichick's defenses. So good luck, Buffalo Bills. It's not going to be the runaway that. Again, this is kind of the sophomore Patrick Mahomes year, I think, setting up for for the Bills possibly. I think they could see a late season collapse if they continue the way they played last weekend. They really could.
We got the Eagles still undefeated, so all the
Fly
72
Eagles fly.
Dolphins.
And how about the Vikings in the Norris division just running away with it.
It's unreal. And then Tampa Bay would be in the playoffs now.
They would be in the playoffs.
A losing record in the playoffs.
Yep.
I don't know. There's incredible mediocrity, and
who would have thought that? And who would have thought that Seattle ditches Russell and is absolutely running away with the NFC West with the Rams and 49ers? Like, who would have thought that? And the Cardinals.
Yeah, nobody saw that.
Nobody.
I got to tell you,
but with as they say, Bobby, defense does win championships, and there's a reason why 75-year-old Pete Carroll is still in the league, because the guy can coach defense like no other.
Especially I got to tell you too, like the corners, the safeties, like his backfield on defense has always been just phenomenal.
Super aggressive. Yeah,
absolutely. All right, Matt. I think that's what we got. That's all I got anyway. I regret that I only have 1 hour to give. Matt. Thank you, Lee. Thank you, Mark. Please visit us at marketvitals.io. Join our community. Please go to Amazon.com and buy some Shrimp Mojo. By the way, Matt, and into the Manja Kitchen, working on a steak mojo for production. Lee, sorry, I don't have the Brussels sprout mojo until next year. That's on next year's agenda. The Brussels mojo.
Veggie mojo.
Veggie mojo. Steak mojo coming. In the Manja Kitchen. We're tweaking right now as we speak. Anyway, Amazon.com for the Shrimp Mojo, and do yourself a favor, cook someone a meal. And you might as well do something well and give them a flavor kick to the chops. That's it, Matt. That's it. You enjoy the winter wonderland, and I will see you tomorrow.
Thanks, Bobby. Great show again. And
thank you.
Hopefully we'll find out something new here on the elections. Hopefully it won't take weeks. Like
hopefully, we talked about this. I know we were doing this in 2020, right? We were doing a show in 2020, weren't we? We've been doing this for 2 years, haven't we?
Yeah.
Look at he's so distracted.
I think we've been doing it closer to 3 years now.
What I cannot believe is that we've forgotten how to go to the moon. We're just trying to refigure it out again, and we think that we've refigured out the engineering to go to the moon.
Yeah.
To think that we cannot run an election that is safe and secure and accurate, it's beyond me. It's beyond meat, and it's beyond meat. It's beyond Meathead. Maybe we should just let Meathead run the election. I don't know. That's all I got. Matt, end the show. Thank you very much.
Get yourself some rub.
Get yourself some rub, for God's sakes.
Amen.
Amen to that. It is done, by the way.